This is the Yongnuo 85mm f1.8 DF DSM portrait lens for Sony E-mount. I just wanted to share my experience with this in case anyone else is considering it. An 85mm lens like this is usually for portraits, tight detail shots, and anything where you want some distance from your subject without backing up across the room. I have been using it on a Sony full-frame body for casual portrait sessions, some indoor family stuff, and a few short video clips when I did not want a huge setup. It is not the kind of lens I would bring for everything, but when I want that classic portrait look and a softer background, this focal length makes it easy. What makes this one interesting to me is that it tries to give you a simple portrait prime with autofocus and a fast aperture without being huge. I have used a few budget-friendly 85mm options over the years, and they often get the basics right but miss on small details that matter in daily use, like focus noise, how the focus ring feels, or how annoying the lens hood is. So I paid attention to those little things right away. In the hand, it feels solid. The barrel feels like metal, and it has that cool touch when you pick it up. It is not heavy in a way that makes my wrist tired, but it also does not feel hollow. The balance on my camera feels natural, and it does not make the whole setup feel front-heavy. The finish looks clean, but it picks up fingerprints fast. I noticed that almost immediately, especially when I was mounting it and taking it off a few times during a shoot. It is not a big deal, but if you like your gear to stay looking spotless, you will probably be wiping it down more than you expect. The lens cap feels sturdy, and the hood fits the way it should. I like having a hood included because I actually use them outside, not just for flair, but also because it gives the front of the lens a little protection when I am moving around people. The filter size is 58mm, which is convenient for me because I already had a couple filters in that size. On the side of the lens, there is a switch for autofocus and manual focus, and I used that more than I thought I would. When I am shooting portraits, I usually trust autofocus, but for detail shots or when I am working with difficult lighting, I sometimes flip to manual focus just to keep things consistent. There is also a button on the lens that you can assign to different functions in the camera settings. I set mine to focus hold, and that became useful for portraits. If my subject moves a little and I want to keep focus where it is a simple press instead of fighting the camera. The focus ring itself feels smooth. It has a nice resistance that makes it easy to make small adjustments. I used manual focus for a few close-up shots, like hands holding something, and it was easy to fine-tune without feeling jumpy. For video, I still prefer manual focus most of the time, and the ring felt predictable enough for simple pulls, although I would not treat it like a cinema lens. Setup is straightforward. I mounted it, turned on the camera, and it was ready. I did not have to mess with anything just to get it working. In daily use, it behaves like it should. I bring the camera to my eye, half-press the shutter, and it locks. The autofocus motor is quiet. In a quiet room, I can still hear a faint movement if I listen for it, but it is not that sharp clicking sound that shows up in audio. When I recorded a couple short clips with on-camera audio, the focus sound did not jump out at me, which is what I care about. If you are using an external microphone close to the lens, you might still pick up something in a silent room, but for normal run and gun video, it is not distracting. For portraits, autofocus is generally quick. In good light, it grabs the eye and stays there. I did notice it can slow down when the light gets dim or when the subject is backlit and the camera has to work harder. It does not completely fall apart, but it hesitates a little more than my more expensive lenses. For still photos, that usually does not matter because I can take a breath and shoot. For video, that hesitation can show up as a small pause before it settles. I tested it in a few real situations. Indoors, I photographed a friend near a window in the late afternoon. At f1.8, the subject separation is easy to get. The face stayed sharp when focus hit correctly, and the background fell away in a way that looks natural for an 85mm lens. The blur looks nice most of the time, but it is not always perfectly smooth. In some backgrounds with lots of small highlights like sunlight through leaves, I saw a slightly busy look. It is not horrible, but it is there. If you are the type of person who is very picky about bokeh, you will notice it more. Sharpness in the center is strong, even wide open. That is the part that matters most for portraits because your subject is usually near the center. When I looked closer at the edges at f1.8, they were softer, and I also saw darkening in the corners. In real portraits, I rarely care about that. It actually can make the image feel a little more focused on the subject. But if you shoot flat subjects, like a wall or a document, you will see it. Stopping down helps. When I used it around f2.8 and f4, the frame looked more even and the corners cleaned up. I also looked for color fringing in high contrast areas. In some shots, like a white shirt against a dark jacket, I could see a little purple or green along edges when I zoomed in. It is not the worst I have seen, but it exists. For my photos, it was easy to correct in editing when it bothered me. For video, it is harder to clean up, so I try to avoid those situations by watching my backgrounds and lighting. For video use, I paid attention to focus breathing. When I shift focus from something close to something farther away, the framing changes a bit. It is not extreme, but it is visible if you are looking for it. If you shoot a lot of talking head videos where you stay at one focus distance, it is not a big deal. If you do dramatic focus pulls, you will notice it more. One practical thing I liked is that it feels reasonably protected for outdoor use. I used it on a breezy day at a park, and I did not feel like I had to hide the camera the second the wind kicked up. I am still careful, but it did not feel fragile. After using it for portraits, casual detail shots, and some video, my overall impression is that it is a solid, usable 85mm lens that fits a lot of everyday shooting. It gives me sharp results where I need them. Autofocus is quiet enough for normal video work, and the size makes it easy to carry. The trade-offs are the fingerprint-prone finish, some corner darkening wide open, occasional color fringing in harsh contrast, and that little bit of focus breathing for video. If you are someone who shoots portraits on a Sony E-mount camera and wants an 85mm lens that is straightforward to use, this one makes sense as long as you are okay with those small flaws. I have enjoyed using it, and it has stayed in my bag more than I expected because it is easy to live with. To learn more about the Yongnuo 85mm/1.8 DF DSM portrait lens, Sony E-mount, please check the comments section. Thank you for watching.